50 days in this period of time between the second night of Passover and the holiday of Shavuot. And so we are counting between those two holy days, between Passover and Shavuot, between the concept, the celebration of freedom, of liberation, and then the concept of our ethical responsibilities, the responsibilities we have towards each other as represented by the Torah. It's a counting in the story from the desert landscape to the mountaintop. It also takes us the 50 days from the time of planting to the time of the first fruits of what we planted growing, the first evidence that what we planted can become food. And then it is, of course, counting between seasons, between the season of spring that we're in now, full force, and the season of summer, once the counting is over. And so part of the Omer is about an unfolding, about a watching and observing and awareness, day by day by day, that each day is different and has its own blessings and challenges. And when we count the days, it helps us make our days count. And of course, we're counting this Omer this year in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of this virus that has been so vicious in its wake, and people in hospitals, and people dying, and people suffering, and people afraid, and people losing income and trust. And so it's a difficult time to be counting the Omer, but maybe this also gives us some hope that as we count day by day by day, that perhaps as we count, we will mitigate the virus, that we will save lives, and that maybe through the days of our counting, which are still weeks away to the end time, that near the end we will perhaps be able to safely return or start to return to our normal lives. The other aspect of the Omer is that the ancient Kabbalists, the mystics, they took each day of the Omer and they superimposed on it divine qualities, the qualities of the Sfirot. And so this day that we're about to count, which will be day 11, these are the two qualities that were put onto this day. They are the qualities of Tiferet and the quality of Gevura. So now Tiferet is glory or beauty, and Gevura we know as strength from the Gevurot, severity even, but I think the sense of Gevura here is of boundaries or borders. And so if you put those two concepts together, Tiferet and Gevura, I like to think of it as the idea that beauty has limits. And I think that's especially poignant in the springtime, because as we know, the spring, nature in the spring is incredibly beautiful. The very specific colors and the bloomings of the spring, the renewal of spring, is especially filled with glory, filled with beauty. And I'm looking out my window at a tree that has these incredible purple flowerings on them. But of course, that beauty of spring is short-lived. It's ephemeral. It doesn't last forever. By the time we finish counting the Omer, it won't look the same outside as it does right now. And so even as we shelter in place, and hopefully in shelters of peace, that we should be aware of the beauties of nature, that we should appreciate them day by day by day. And so I'm going to read a poem. This notion of beauty having limits reminded me of a poem that I read actually yesterday as part of our virtual Shabbat morning service. And it's a poem about not just the springtime, but about life, that life's beauty has limits, and that there is glory in life, but there is also severity and challenge and sadness and loss, and we're feeling all of that during this time. And so I'm going to read The World is a Beautiful Place by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, a 101-year-old poet, beatnik poet. And then I'm going to make the blessing for the Omer, and then count the day officially, and then end with a little bit of a chorus of a song. So this is: the world is a beautiful place. The world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't always mind happiness, not always being fun. If you don't mind a touch of hell now and then, just when everything is fine. Because even in heaven, they don't sing all the time. The world is a beautiful place to be born into if you don't mind some people dying all the time, or maybe only starving some of the time, which isn't half bad if it isn't you. Oh, the world is a beautiful place to be born into if you don't much mind a few dead minds in the higher places, or a bomb or two now and then in our upturned faces, or other such improprieties as our name-brand society is prey to, with its men of distinction and its men of extinction, and its priests and other patrolmen, and its various segregations and congressional investigations, and other constipations that our full flesh is ear to. Yes, the world is the best place of all, for a lot of such things as making the fun scene, and making the love scene, and making the sad scene, and singing low songs, and having inspirations, and walking around looking at everything, and smelling flowers, and goosing statues, and even thinking, and kissing people, and making babies, and wearing pants, and waving hats, and dancing, and going swimming in rivers on picnics in the middle of the summer, and just generally living it up. Yes, but right then in the middle of it comes the smiling mortician. And so the song I want to sing is a lullaby. Sang it last night. We had a campfire in our backyard, my family, and it's a lullaby I used to sing to my kids all the time before they went to bed. And I thought it would be a nice sort of peaceful way to end our Omer count, which I will do right now. So the blessing for counting the Omer, which is a mitzvah, so we use the mitzvah blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Blessed is the Holy One whose presence fills creation, where we learn mitzvahs, sacred deeds that fill our lives with meaning and purpose, including this mitzvah of counting the 50 days between Passover and Shavuot, known as the period of the Omer. Amen. Good night, you moonlight ladies. Rockabye, sweet baby James. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rockabye, sweet baby James. Good night, everybody. Lila Tov. I hope it's a good tomorrow, and that you stay well, and those that you love stay well. And I'll be thinking about all of you, and I miss all of you.